Hello, everybody, and welcome to NuFitU. This is our introductory session. We're going to be talking about ways to live well, to live long, and to make sure that we enjoy ourselves and still live now. Over the coming weeks, we're going to be having a whole range of different classes that look at different elements of nutrition, different elements of changing our lifestyles for the better in the long term. This isn't a diet. This is about achieving a good balance of sound nutritional principles, incorporating those into our lives, and enjoying our lives more in consequence. So, why NuFitU? Why should you guys listen to me? Well, a couple of years ago now, I was in a right state. I was getting poorly all the time. I'd had pleurisy. I had asthma attacks all the time. I got infection after infection, ear infections, chest infections. I was in a right mess. I had no confidence left. I was struggling at work. I'm normally a lecturer, and I was finding that I was not really wanting to get in front of a classroom of people. I was avoiding meetings, particularly in the corporate environment, because I didn't want people to look at me, really. I'd totally lost my confidence. I'd lost my energy. I was much too fat. I had started to put on weight an awful lot after my divorce. And also after an injury that I had, I wasn't doing enough exercise. I was still doing a little bit of cycling, but at a very, very recreational level, very slow. I was going out cycling with a group, and I eventually stopped doing that because I felt I was just holding them up all the time. And I wasn't sleeping properly. I was unhappy. I was drinking too much. I was depressed. And I realized that I'd lost control of pretty much every element of my life. And that actually trying to develop better nutrition habits, because they have such an impact on general health and also on mental health, was a key part, of getting control of my life back. So here we are, 2 years on. These things don't happen overnight, although, to be fair, my initial weight loss was very fast. I'm 5 stone lighter, and as you can see from the picture, I'm in a totally different place. I'm energetic, I'm confident, I don't have any of the problems at work that I used to have. I've been promoted, so I have different types of responsibilities. I get plenty of exercise. I don't feel like I'm holding other people up any longer, so I can go out cycling with other people. But I also do plenty of exercise on my own, and I really enjoy that. I enjoy the community aspect of some of the fit clubs that we do. I have quality sleep. I find the more that you balance yourself with good nutrition, the more mentally balanced you are, and the better kind of sleep that you have. I'm happy. That's the key difference. The thing it's not just about what you weigh or about how you look. I'm happy. I'm happy in a way that I wasn't before, because I have control of my life again, and I've made, a success. I've made a success of losing weight. I've taken back control, and I've made a success of other parts of my life, such as my relationships and my working environment. So it's all been really, really good. And I'm hoping through these online tutorials to be able to share some of that journey with you, to be able to share some of the things that I've learnt with you, and maybe to have similar impacts as a result of this within your own life. I was so excited by this and so positive about what I'd learnt and what I'd achieved. I actually went off and qualified as a nutritionist. So you can be very confident that the principles that I'm going to be talking to you about, the kind of ideas, the kind of tips, the kind of information that you're going to get, is backed up by very sound research and a whole range of other different sources, such as the British Medical Association and the World Health Organization and the Department of Health. So we aren't a diet. We are about taking back of control of our lives by achieving balance and underpinning good long-term nutritional principles, as part of that. Okay, so what are we going to be covering in today's session? Well, we're going to be looking at goal setting. So what kind of goals do we want to think about? What kind of long-term vision do we have? What kind of things, what kind of thought processes are going to set us on this way and make our long-term achievement of our goals more realistic? What is your individual reason why? Why do you want to do this? I knew I wanted to do it because I totally lost control of my life, and the eating was symptomatic of that. But I tried the diet before, I tried shakes before, but my head wasn't in the right place at that point in time. And really, your head needs to be in the right place. It's a mental attitude, and you can cultivate that, and we will teach you how to do that as part of the course. We'll then be looking at the different types of things that you need to do, the little small changes that you need to make to plan, to take action, to check progress, to adjust. It's not a case that you do one lesson, suddenly you learn everything you need to know, and bang, bingo, a couple of weeks later, you're 5 stone lighter. It's not going to happen like that. We need to take small steps consistently over a long period of time and keep both of our small short-term goals, but also our long-term goal in mind. And we're going to be looking at the absolute cornerstone of good nutrition and explaining why it's so important, the healthy breakfast. Okay, let's get started. Let's talk about goals first of all. So you've all made the decision to watch this tutorial. You've all made the decision to be here. You've all made the decision to take control of your own health and well-being. So congratulations, you've taken the first and quite often the hardest step. We'll be talking about cognitive behavioural therapy later on in the course as well. And that process between being aware, being contemplative. Well, the fact that you're here, and relapsing, but the fact that you're here means that you know you want to change. You know that there's some action that you need to take. You're starting to understand that there are different things out there for you if you make different types of changes. So it starts here. Well done. Congratulations for taking that first vital step. So many people haven't been able to do that yet. So many people are so far behind you. So well done for being here. Okay, so the first thing to say is that the cornerstone of our philosophy is about balance, and you'll see that I keep coming back to balance again and again and again as the course progresses. But our philosophy is that good nutrition and good diet is balanced. So it's about 80% nutrition, 20% exercise, and that equals 100% attitude. Okay, so if you can develop both of those elements, good nutritional habits, good exercise habits, you are demonstrating just the kind of attitude that you need to succeed. Diets that focus on not incorporating exercise, probably short-termist approaches, really. You really need, if you want to achieve a healthy balance in your life, to be incorporating physical activity. But that doesn't mean you have to go to the gym. It doesn't mean you have to do mad spinning classes. Sometimes you just need to take a walk. Sometimes it's just walking up the stairs rather than maybe going in the elevator. We've got lots to say about exercise and about how you become more active in a later session. But this is our philosophy, 80-20, 80% nutrition, 20% exercise, 100% the right attitude. Okay, so the first thing that you need to ask yourselves, and you might want to pause at this moment and jot this down maybe on a piece of paper somewhere, is why do you want to change? What is it that's motivating you to change? How do you want to change? What kind of things do you think in your life need to change? And really importantly, because this is, again, part of CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, what do you think change is going to look like in your life? So when I went through this process, I knew that I wanted to change because I wanted to take back control. I knew that the how I was going to change was taking back control of my diet, taking back control of the amount of time that I dedicated to myself in terms of exercise and activity, and other elements that, maybe things like drinking, for example, the amount of alcohol I was consuming, and we'll be talking about that again later on. But for me, at the very beginning of this process, I imagined that when I'd achieved this, when I was the weight that I wanted to be, I'd be able to stand in front of a room full of people again. And I have this very particular red dress. Maybe one day I'll put it on for you and put it on the NuFitU Facebook page. But there was this very particular dress. It's a red dress by Jaeger. And I thought, gosh, if I could be slim enough to be confident enough to wear that and stand in front of a room of people and do my job in a confident manner, feeling beautiful, feeling engaged, feeling in control. And that's what I imagined it was going to look like. And here we are 2 years later, and I'm certainly at that point. That's not an issue for me. And it was a fantastic moment when I was able to do that, when I was able to walk into that lecture theatre in that dress, knew that I had everybody's engagement. There was no one sitting there thinking anything negative about me. They were judging me on what I had to say, not on the fact that I was, less than I would want them to think that I was. So, we all have different issues. Self-esteem comes from different places for, different people. Some of you may be more interested in sport and fitness. For me, which I am now, but for me, this process started with wanting to be confident in a way that I'd lost. So when you've decided why you want to change and what change is going to look like for you, when you've written that down, it's really important that you share that with your family and friends. It's really important that they know that this is so important to you. Again, we'll be talking about this as we progress, but the support of your family is absolutely crucial. It's really hard to do this if you've got a family member that's constantly undermining you, constantly trying to get you to eat different things, constantly trying to maybe undermine some of your exercise aspirations. So it's really important that they know that this is absolutely crucial to you and why you're so passionate about it. Okay, keep a copy of your goals. They don't need to be very, very brief. I wouldn't put down more than 2 or 3. Keep a copy of them on the fridge with the fridge magnet, and a photo. Maybe you could have a photo of what you looked like in the past. Maybe you could have a photo of what you look like now. And those kind of visual clues or visual cues will make you think, a little bit more each time you open that fridge door. So that's going to help keep you on course over the next few weeks and, more importantly, beyond, because we aren't just about making short-term changes. We're about making lifestyle changes that last and last. Okay, so each of you now have your own goals. You've had to think about why you're doing this, what it's going to look like for you. But a goal without a plan is just a wish. You actually have to develop a plan to put this into action. It's not going to happen immediately. You need to think about, and in conjunction with us, we'll help you to do this. You need to think about the small steps that you can take to make that goal, to make that aspiration a reality. So to achieve your goals, you need a plan, okay? You need to be able to identify what those small steps are. So over the next few weeks, we're going to be helping you to prepare a plan, and that's going to help you to achieve your goals and, most importantly, to maintain them in the long term. So we're going to be talking about a whole range of different things. We're going to be talking about macronutrients. We're going to be talking about the importance of nutrition, proteins, and we're going to be talking about a whole range of different lifestyle changes that have a potentially very important impact or a significant impact on your ability to achieve your goals. So some of this will be done in these online tutorials. Some of this you're going to need to do at home. And obviously we have support facilities available for you. You can post on the NuFitU Facebook site. You can email us. You can phone and talk to us as well. So we're here for you. We're here to help you put together this plan, and we're here to help you implement it. Okay, so this is the process. The tutorials will help you develop your plan. We're going to be talking about what sorts of things you need to do, what kind of changes you need to make, what kind of different approaches you might take. It's up to you then to actually follow the plan when you're at home, away from the tutorial space, to take action, to do and to put into practice the things that we've been talking about. None of this is going to happen without you actually physically doing the things that we've been talking about. Then obviously you need to come back to the next tutorial for the next week to check and to monitor and review how has implementing this part of the plan worked? How has this small change impacted? Do we need to adjust in some way, shape or form? Are we having quite enough protein? Are we using maybe quite the right balance of fibre? So these are different things that we're going to be talking about as the plan progresses. So the idea then is to, adjust and follow a modified plan. So we're talking about this being an initiative cycle, really. Plan, do, check, adjust, plan again. Back around and round the cycle on a week-by-week basis. This is going to take some effort, okay? For me, I think when my head was in the right place, I just decided, right, okay, I know that I can't change my entire diet in one day. That's not going to happen. So I'm going to concentrate, first of all, on just getting breakfast right. And when I've got breakfast right and I'm aware of what I need to do and I know that that's working, then I can implement further changes in my diet. And actually, I only had our protein-rich breakfasts just for breakfast for the first 2 months. I did only breakfast before I moved on to lunches as well for those first 2 months. And I lost just under 2 stone in those first 2 months. And that's indicative of just how far out my kind of knowledge and understanding at that point in time of what constituted a good breakfast actually was. And we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about breakfast and talking about why it's so important. So you're going to have to make some changes. This isn't going to be, dead easy. Nothing ever is if it includes significant change. But the important thing is to make that significant change, actually implement it, broken down into a number of very small changes over a significant period of time. So those tiny little alterations over time is how you build significant change. If you try to do everything all at once, then you're going to set yourself up for failure. It's much, much harder to make an absolutely huge change and sustain it than it is to make those small changes, repeatedly week by week. So if you can't make small changes, then you're not going to achieve your goals, are you? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You aren't going to get a different result unless you approach things in a different way. So hopefully that's kind of convinced you that making those small changes that we're going to be talking about is going to be, in the end, what you need to do to achieve your goals. So to be successful, then, we all need to be prepared to make some changes. The important thing is that they are small changes. So I've got a number of clients now. I've been doing this nutritional support for some time now, and one of the kinds of phrases that I hear so frequently, and my heart always sinks when I do, is people that come and say, "Oh, I'm an all or nothing person," and they try to change absolutely everything all at once. They want to be a stone lighter in 2 weeks' time, and they're going to do everything to achieve that for 2 weeks, and then after 2 weeks it's all fallen apart and they haven't achieved what they want to achieve, and they weren't able to sustain this all or nothing approach because it was just too hard. So if in your mind you're thinking, oh, I have to do all or nothing, then maybe it'd be a good idea to question why you feel like that, because there may be some kind of emotional or behavioural issues there which are kind of stimulating that response rather than a kind of grasp of what's realistic. people have different approaches. What works very well for some people may not necessarily work for others. But my suggestion is that we start out by thinking of the small things that we can do differently. Once we've done each of those differently for a week, we can build in something else, we can build in something else. And as I said, 2 months for me of making small changes week by week equated to nearly 2 stone of the 5 stone that I lost. So I'm not saying that will happen for you, because you may have significantly less weight to lose than me. Your composition may be different, your diet may be different. But I'd always thought that I had to change everything at once or it wasn't worth it. And I was wrong. Okay. And I learned that I was wrong through this type of process. So are you up for this challenge then? Are you up for doing things differently? Okay. As we've just been discussing, we need to be careful not to try to change too much too soon, because it's not manageable. We need to start with small, manageable changes that we can maintain. And at the end of this session, I'm going to give you maybe 3 little elements that you could be thinking about changing in terms of your approach. Okay, it's not a sprint. This is a process, okay? And if you're somebody like me that's going to probably always have to watch their diet, it's really important that we're viewing this as a lifestyle change, not as a finite diet. We're not going to do this for 3 weeks, expect amazing results, and then never do it again. These are lifestyle changes that we need to implement and maintain forever, not just for now. So it's not a sprint, it's a gradual adoption of new healthy habits for the long term. Okay, so the first thing that we need to be thinking about is getting nutrition-wise. And the upcoming series of classes that we're going to be doing online, there's a whole range of them that's going to be going on for some considerable period of time, is about that. It's about teaching you how to be nutrition-wise. And our approach, again, is it's all about balance. So we're looking at trying to spread the ratios of our diet as about 40% carbohydrates, 30% fats, 30% proteins. Now, you'll find that the World Health Organization, for example, when it's looking at people that want to maintain their weight, will increase their carbohydrate proportion and decrease their protein proportion. So you may have seen ratios around of kind of 50, 30, 20. So that's for the World Health Organization's recommendations for weight maintenance. Okay. You may also have seen diets which are very high protein diets. They will have a significantly higher protein content than that. In terms of the ratios, they're for people who may be, for example, looking at bodybuilding. Okay, so they need a much higher protein consumption. I have some issues with that in terms of safety, but obviously they're medically supervised. But in terms of the mainstream, most of us, what we're really looking to do is try to create a fine balance between fats, healthy fats, that is, proteins and carbohydrates. We're going to be doing a whole session talking about carbohydrates, and there have been different approaches. You'll find some sort of more old-fashioned diets from the 1980s, for example, concentrates on high complex carb ratios. We're very fond of complex carbs here, and we're going to be talking about why in a few weeks' time. But it depends on your body type. But for most people, very high complex carbohydrate concentrations, that's a tongue twister, isn't it? Actually, don't help them achieve their long-term goals. So we're looking for balance between. You'll see some fairly radical modern diets, which are ketosis diets. I don't want to name any brand names, but I'm sure you can do your research to go and have a look at them. They have almost no carbohydrate. They're looking for people who are very, very obese and need to reduce weight very, very quickly for medical reasons. Again, a diet that has very, very low carbohydrate content needs to be medically supervised because it burns muscle at the same time as body fat, so it can be very dangerous. So again, you'll see some of those diets, the NHS will recommend that people don't do them for more than a few weeks at a time. So we're not looking for this short-term hit. We're looking for a long-term change, and the best way of achieving long-term change is by utilising balance. Okay, so 40, 30, 30. So we're looking at 80% nutrition, 20% exercise. And when we're talking about our nutrition, we're talking about 40% carbohydrates, 30% healthy fats, 30% protein. Okay, so let's go on to the first thing that we could be possibly changing, and one of the first things that we ought to be thinking about in terms of being nutrition wise. Now, you'll have been told many times, I'm sure, that a healthy breakfast is the most critical part of good nutrition, and it's absolutely right, and there's some good science to back that up, which I'm going to go through now. So have a think for a second. What do you normally have for breakfast? Okay, so if I was to think about what I would have had in the past, I might have had a bowl of cornflakes, I might have had a piece of toast with some butter and jam, for example. And if I was having wholemeal, I just would have assumed that that was a relatively healthy breakfast. It wasn't like I was having sausages and chips or anything like that. But what people don't realise is those types of typical breakfast, cereal, toast and jam, for example, are absolutely loaded with sugar. Okay, particularly sweet cereals, which are aimed at children. So, and as well, some adult cereals, things like crunchy nut cornflakes, for example, honey loops. These are all very, very high sugar content. So what happens is you wake up in the morning, okay? If we look at the graph here, the green band is our normal blood sugar level, okay? This is where we need to try and keep our blood sugar if at all possible. And what happens is you get up, you have your cereal or your toast and jam, and your sugar level rises suddenly, very high and very, very aggressively. What happens then is your body produces a mass of insulin to deal with this sugar. Okay, the insulin is a hormone that tells your body and your liver to do specific things with the sugar level, the blood glucose. Okay, and it tells it to metabolize it into energy or to fat, for example. So the insulin follows this huge spike in your sugar level. But because you've had a peak and the insulin is telling your body very fast to use this as glucose or convert it into fat, and the insulin is trying to keep pace with the sugar, what happens then is the sugar levels drop dramatically. Okay, and you have a period then of hunger. And what happens, again, because sugar is so addictive and because your insulin levels are trying to stabilize your blood sugar levels, your body starts telling itself that it's very hungry. You might find yourself dehydrated. You might find yourselves tired. You might find yourselves very crabby or feeling slightly down. It affects your mood. Any of you guys who are teachers will know this absolutely, okay? You see a room full of kids in the morning, they've had their breakfast, they run round like maniacs for about an hour and a half. 11 o'clock, they're crabby, they're tired, they're falling asleep at their desks, and they're very difficult to manage, okay? So this is when our blood sugar and our insulin levels have dropped below a healthy normal blood sugar level. And then what happens? People have sandwiches for lunch, so they have more bread, more complex carbs, they have crisps, they have maybe a piece of cake, they have a flapjack. So they're cramming yet more sugar into their system, their insulin level goes up, blood glucose level goes up, and here they are on a roller coaster all day long. So this is, despite the fact this is what most people in the UK eat for breakfast, this is a really poor approach to having, a healthy, balanced approach to nutrition in the morning. Not having any kind of breakfast at all creates exactly the same kind of problems. Okay, so this healthy breakfast graph helps to explain why people get these mid-morning cravings for a carbohydrate snack. Okay, so the blood sugar's low, your insulin levels, your body's saying, oh quick, we must get some more sugar in, we're running out of energy. Okay, if you start by skipping breakfast, what happens is that you're almost immediately into this super low part of the cycle, and your body is telling you you must eat quickly. So you start carb cramming then mid morning. You put yourself straight back on the sugar cycle. So you have your carbs, you have your flapjacks, you have your digestive biscuits at 10 o'clock. And there you are, your sugar level straight back up, your insulin level straight back up, and you're back into the cycle again. So what we really need to do is try to keep our blood sugar levels within that healthy range. So it's not spiking and dipping into an unhealthy range, and making us feel awful, making us feel dehydrated and giving us headaches, and then forcing us to eat yet more carbs because our body thinks it's running out of energy. So we need to be looking at a healthy, balanced breakfast. So when I'm talking about balance, we come back to this getting nutrition-wise: 40% carbs, 30% healthy fats, 30% protein. And when in the later lectures we talk about the kind of function of protein and the use of healthy fats in our diet, some of this will start to make an awful lot more sense, but I don't want to bombard you too much just yet. So the most important thing is that we try to develop or try to eat a healthy, balanced breakfast. So that's one that includes complex carbs. So complex carbs, when we're talking about carbohydrates, in a few weeks' time, are ones that release energy slowly. Okay, so these are starchy carbs. These are our wholemeal breads, for example, and other starchy carb products. So the complex carbs. Most importantly, and this is what's missing from most people's breakfasts here in the UK, is protein. We need to ensure that we have protein in our diet. And again, in a later session, I'm going to be talking about protein balance, protein function. I'm going to be talking about protein sparing action, why protein is so important. But at the moment, I just want us to get our heads around the idea that we must have balance. Okay, so balance at every meal, not protein at the end of the day and carbs at the beginning, balance throughout. So we're looking at carbohydrates, proteins, fiber, vitamins, minerals, healthy fats, all the way throughout the day in a balanced fashion. So protein is what most breakfasts are lacking, and eating protein at breakfast evens out our blood sugar levels and reduces our cravings. So what you'll find when you start having a protein-rich breakfast, and we'll be talking about this in a lot more detail later on, is that the protein levels, because the protein is harder to digest than carbohydrates, actually slows down the blood glucose transfer from the carbohydrates into our bloodstream as we digest the food. So it's really important that to maximize that kind of longevity in blood glucose levels, that we eat protein with our carbohydrates. We then even out our insulin levels, we even out our blood glucose or sugar levels. So we need to think about ways of incorporating protein with our breakfast for every breakfast. Okay, and one of the best ways of doing that, one of the beauty of this particular program, is our healthy breakfast meal replacement shakes. Okay, so these are scientifically balanced. They incorporate huge amounts of fantastic nutritional elements. You're talking about all your macronutrients, all your micronutrients, okay, for about 200 calories. So if you think maybe if you were having a bowl of granola with milk, okay, and maybe a little bit of dried fruit, your calorie intake there may be 500 calories or so. So you may have a third just in that one bowl, a third of your calorie intake for the day, just in that one bowl. So this is scientifically balanced breakfast in a calorie limited form. So we do incorporate, or the actual breakfast does incorporate that balance. So it does have protein in it, so it does slow down the sugar transfer into our body, into our bloodstreams. It does have complex carbohydrates in it, those starchy things that we really need to give us energy across the day. If we don't have sugars, if we don't have complex carbs, then we don't have energy, and our body starts to break down its protein stores instead. And we'll come back to in a subsequent week why we don't want to do that. So our shakes are packed with nutrition. To get the equivalent amount of nutrition in, from conventional food, you'd need to eat about 2,000 calories worth of food to get the same amount of nutrition. So these are absolutely fantastic ways of accessing all of the macro and micronutrients that you need in one go. They taste great, they're really quick, and they're very easy to prepare. So with mine, I just make mine in the morning, and then I cycle off to the train station and I drink mine on the train, and they're really, really nice. You can mix it with loads of different things. I've got to the point, to be honest, where I actually look forward to my breakfast. It gives you such a fantastic rush of energy. The micronutrients in it are so, and the antioxidants in it are so energizing that you have your shake and you feel, you can face the day in a different way. It's not like eating a piece of toast. It tastes fresh, it tastes exciting, it tastes healthy. Okay, so you can mix them with a load of different things. You can mix them with fruit juice. You can add extra protein by putting in extra yogurt. Sorry, can't talk again. Soya milk, almond milk, for example. You can even mix them in porridge. Okay, you can have porridge the night before and put some of the protein powder in with it, and let it all soak in overnight, maybe with some soy milk, and in the morning you've got a protein-rich breakfast already sitting there in the fridge for you. Other things that you can eat, which from conventional food again, are things like sardines. That's a very, very good protein-rich breakfast. Eggs, for example, maybe scrambled eggs or boiled eggs with a piece of wholemeal bread. Okay, so those are other types of things that you can eat. And as I said, you can eat porridge as well. There's quite a lot of protein and alongside other things such as fibre in normal porridge. You can put porridge into your shakes. That's what I do. I blend them up with an additional spoonful of porridge just to give that extra hit of protein and fibre. And our shakes are available in a very wide variety of different flavours, so you can choose one to suit yourself. You can add frozen fruit to it. You can add seeds to it. You can add, if you want to make smoothies, for example, you can add things like kale and spinach to it as well if you're feeling experimental. I wouldn't do that just yet. I would get used to just the actual product itself. But certainly I have a vanilla one, and then I make up my own flavours with little packs of frozen fruit from Aldi. Okay, so they do one which is a strawberry and banana mix. I'm sure they do the same in the other supermarkets as well. In Sainsbury's, for example, I know that they have pitted black cherries. That can be really, really nice with a chocolate flavour one. It's like a Black Forest Gatto type. So you can experiment, okay? And again, on the NuFitU Facebook site, you'll see that there are all sorts of different ideas for different recipes and different flavours that you can make up using conventional food alongside the meal replacement shakes themselves. So, an awful lot of variety. Don't think I'm going to buy a vanilla shake mix and that's all I'm going to eat for the next 6 weeks, because again, you'll get very, very bored. But if you were to buy a vanilla one or maybe a chocolate one, you can create all sorts of different flavours with different things that you can add to it without necessarily adding a great deal in terms of calories. Okay, we'll be learning more about the shakes, what they can be used for, how they can help you as we progress through the program. Okay, we'll be talking about macronutrients. We'll be talking about what kind of meals we need to put together, what kind of things we need to do to achieve our goals. A great way to try out the shakes, though, is through the trial packs. So if you go online and access our online shop, you'll see that there are sachets of the shakes available to purchase. One of the other things that's a really good, starting point are our thermogenic instant beverages. So thermogenic, basically metabolism boosting. You take one of those per day, and they actually boost your metabolism. They help you to burn off calories. Some of the drinks, for example, you'd burn off about 80 calories just by drinking one drink. They're packed with green tea extracts. That's the reason they're thermogenic, and they have all these fantastic antioxidants to help. They come in a range of different fruit flavours as well. So, all of these are available for you to purchase in our online shop. They help give you lots of energy, give you some variety, help you stay hydrated. Okay, so what small changes are we going to make this week? Well, I want you to think of one thing you can do to help you achieve your goals this week and share it on the NuFitU Facebook site. Okay, so what one thing can you do this week? One small thing that you can do that's your step towards achieving your goal, that's your step towards changing. Okay, and maybe that's in addition to, but maybe, or most importantly, that should be incorporating a healthy breakfast into your diet. So whether that's one of our shakes, whether that's porridge, whether that's scrambled eggs, whether that's sardines, for example, you need to be looking at how you're going to incorporate a healthy breakfast into your diet. You also need to start a food diary, okay? So at this stage, you're not going to be worrying so much about calorie content. We need to start thinking about the kinds of things that we're eating. Later on, we can start thinking about portion sizes and macronutrient spread and what have you. But at the moment, we just need to start out by thinking and recording what we actually eat, okay? Once you've got the hang of this, so in a few weeks' time, you'll find maybe that you don't need to do it quite so religiously, but you'll find maybe in the future you might have the odd bad week, and one of the core things that you'll do is come back to the food diary, start recording again and having a look at maybe what's changed and what's slipped. This is a process. We all have relapses, okay? So one of the core ways of overcoming that is using a food diary. So I want you to start thinking about that now. There are sample food diaries that are available on NuFitU. You can download them, you can print them out, but there are at the same time lots of different apps available. I use a app on my mobile phone called Lose It. Okay, I found that one very, very good. Lots of people use MyFitnessPal. That one's very popular. But there are a whole range of other ones as well. So you can download our sample diary and use that, or you can start using your own app. But, whatever's most suitable for you. But that's one small change that you could look at doing this week. Most important thing, though, is that you start looking at your breakfast. And lastly, you could think about maybe joining a fit club or a community exercise class local to you yourselves. There are details of various different exercise classes available on the NuFitU Facebook site. So go and have a look at those, or go and have a look at what's available in your own community. Okay, so a finishing thought for today. If it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. Okay, so some of these changes as we go along this process might be tougher than others. Okay, but we need to think about making small changes that add up in the long term to a significant difference. Okay, thank you very much for listening to me today. And I shall look forward to being with you in our next session, where we're going to start talking about protein. Okay, so look out for that on our YouTube channel in the next 7 days. Thank you.